Hey y'all, it's Amanda and this is my Texas Zone 8 garden, and today we're going to be starting 3 new varieties of cut flowers from seed. Okay, so we are starting to roll into all of the seeds starting. I'm super excited, and some of the varieties that I'm starting today are a little bit longer germination period, and that's why I'm going to get them started today. Or they are also cool flowers, so I want to give them a little bit of an earlier start by starting their seeds now so that they are a more robust plant and I can put it out sooner as soon as we're done with the last frost of the year. So the last frost, estimated frost for me, is typically mid-March. If you're not sure when your last frost date is, you can go ahead and look that up online. You need to look up your zone, so just look up your zone based on your zip code, and then based off of that, it should be able to give you your last frost date of this winter. Okay, so today we're going to be starting Eucalyptus, Cleome, and Scabiosa seeds. All wonderful, awesome cut flowers or cut foliage for flower arrangement. The Eucalyptus and the Cleome are brand new to me from starting from seed. I've grown both of them starting from full-grown plants that I purchased from the nursery. Scabiosa I have been growing from seed for years, and it is a simple, easy one that really gives you a lot of bang for your buck and is a very unique flower to include in flower arrangements. All right, so let's start with eucalyptus. So eucalyptus is a greenery of sorts, tends to have a really beautiful scent and smell to it. It's very easy to grow from seed, but it kind of has a slow germination period. I think it was 12 to 21 days. 14 to 21 days germination period. One thing I found about eucalyptus is I feel it's really hard to find the seeds, and when you do locate them, they're sold out. The seeds I'm going to be working with today are from Johnny's. Is that right? Yeah, they're from Johnny's, and it's going to be the baby blue bouquet. But I've been wanting to grow eucalyptus from seed for quite a while. It's excellent for cut flower arrangements, and it's also excellent dried as a dried foliage that will last you months and months and months. A lot of people also grow eucalyptus so that they can collect its essential oil. That's not something I do, but it is something that is possible to do. It is suggested that eucalyptus is started in seed trays and not direct sowed. Typically doesn't do well in direct sowing situation. It's also suggestive that we use vermiculite on the eucalyptus. So let's go ahead and get that started first. Okay, so I've got my seed starting tray. This is my portable seed starting tray that I use quite frequently. And I use it all the time, truthfully. It's located on my Amazon storefront if you are interested. I'm going to start with only 12 seed cells to get started with. I don't want to make too many because I'm not sure how big this particular plant gets, and I don't have a lot of space. I know with 12 that I can keep 6 for myself and then give 6 to my friend Kristen, and if she doesn't want them, I can probably still find room for 12 plants. More than that, I'm not really sure. I think after my experience this year, growing it will give me a better idea of how many I want to grow next year. We're going to work with my Amazon seed starting trays. These are also listed in my Amazon storefront. So it is a 12 cell seed starting tray with holes in the bottom, and it comes with a water reservoir, and it comes with a humidity dome as well. I am going to be working with my favorite soil, which is called BM7 by Berger, and I get this from homegrown plants in Farmersville, Texas. And I'm basically just running the soil over the top, and I'm gently pushing down with 2 fingers, just like that, no problem. I do not pre-moisten my soil, so this is dry soil, but what I'll do next is I'll go ahead and fill this reservoir up about 50 to 60%, put this in, and it will very quickly soak up the water. All right, so I'm just gonna go ahead and fill up my tray about 50 to 60% of the way with just plain tap water. And then I will set my container in, and you will be able to watch it just immediately kind of soak down. It starts soaking up the water really quick. I prefer this method because I feel like it's easier and cleaner, since I especially do all of my seed starting inside. I'm literally in my dining room. My dining room is turned into my kind of plant room area. Okay, so let's talk about what we're growing. We are doing the baby blue eucalyptus from Johnny's Selected Seeds. It is about 50 seeds in this lot, and I'll put the price down low. It is about 100 120 to 150 days for flowering or for when it's actually ready to be cut and used. And its height is about 36 to 48 inches. It is considered a tender perennial. However, it's really kind of zoned for, like, I believe it was zones 9 through 11. So I am technically zone 8B. So I'm right on that bridge of being able to overwinter eucalyptus. So it is about 14 to 21 days for germination. And it says that it needs to be germinated at about 65 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit, which means it does not need to be on a heat mat for me, which works great. My house is typically kept about the 67 to 70 degree range Fahrenheit. Now, these are going to be set on top and they're going to be covered with vermiculite. And vermiculite basically is a substance that really kind of allows a lot of air movement across the top where the soil is. So it adds really great air movement, but then it also really keeps everything moisturized at the top. And that's important for some seeds because you want to make sure the seed stays moist until it germinates, because it really needs to be moist in order to kind of crack the outside portion of the seed. And there's 50 seeds in here and they are tiny dark colored seeds. I think I'm going to put 2 per container. So basically I'm just going to drop a couple of seeds on top of each one of the cells. And if I happen to get 2 seeds that germinate in each of these, I can always divide it out, which would be totally fine too. Like I said, I didn't want to start a whole bunch of these because, like I said, I've not grown it from seed before and I've not grown this particular variety. So I don't want to overdo it and not have enough room to put this anywhere in my garden. So I feel like 12 is a good one to start off with. You know, even if I end up with 6 that turn out really well, I can always cut on 3 of them and then allow the other ones to continue growing up before I cut more. So I have just a basic vermiculite. You can get this at a big box store, order it online. This particular variety is Stay Green. I don't really care in any particular way regarding the variety. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to come across like this with the vermiculite. Easy peasy, just like that. All right, and then these need to be kept humid, so they need to be kept wet until they have sprouted. So I'm going to go ahead and put my humidity dome on. I'm going to make sure my humidifier is closed. I'm not going to be putting these on a heating mat. Okay, that next one is done. So let's talk about Cleome. Now, the Cleome that I have grown in the past has been, I grew a variety from proven winners, and then I grew just another random variety from a nursery that wasn't particularly labeled with the specific variety of Cleome. But I really like the old-fashioned quality of Cleome, and I really like that it kind of has like a cottage garden feel, which is very much my style. I really like that. And so I ended up ordering these seeds from Swallowtail Garden, and I did order a lot of Swallowtail Garden seeds this year, and I've had really good luck so far. This particular variety is called Sparkler 2.0 Blush Cleome. They describe it as improved seed germination, brighter, more vivid colors, and a superior branching habit ensures a steady and generous supply of bicolor pink and white spidery 4 to 6 inch flower heads all summer and fall. Tough, heat, and drought tolerant, upright, 3.5 to 4 foot tall plant. Won't need staking, which I'm like, that's super exciting. And this was 15 seeds, and then I'll put the price for the 15 seeds. Now, Cleome is not a perennial in my area. It is typically only hardy in zones 10 and 11, so it's treated as an annual for me. But since it does take a little bit longer to get started, this one actually was only 5 to 15 days germination, but I take it back. The germination is 10 to 21 days. I was reading Scabiosa. So it is a little bit of a longer germination point. It needs to be kept at about 85 or 75 to 80 degrees. So I am going to be putting this one on a heat mat since my temps don't get up to 75 degrees in my house at this time of the year. All right, we're going to start with my Amazon seed tray again. And some of the vermiculite got mixed up in the soil. That's fine. It's no big deal. We'll go ahead and fill this in. A lot of people ask about if I boil my soil before I use it. I don't, but if you want to reduce the amount of fungus gnats that you might have to deal with, boiling your soil ahead of time is a really good thing to try and do. It takes too much time for me, and I haven't really necessarily seen the benefits. But then also, I'm not really bothered by fungus gnats. I actually love the little yellow sticky traps that I use, and I find the whole thing fascinating, catching fungus gnats. So it doesn't really bother me. All right, so we've got that filled up, and we'll go ahead and fill this up halfway, a little more than halfway with water. And since it's only 15 seeds in the seed package, we're going to go ahead and use all of them. We'll just double up. So we'll end up doing 12 seed cells. I love the look of Cleome. And if I can start growing it by seed, that would be wonderful, because it's definitely a plant that I love, but I don't reach for earlier in the season. These seeds are very small, kind of brown color. It does look like they're surface sowed, so we're going to go ahead and put them on the top of the soil surface, and then we're going to go ahead and add vermiculite. The reason I'm adding vermiculite is because I already have it out. So I don't always add vermiculite. Usually I do it with like seeds that I feel like need a little bit more assistance. Or seeds that have a longer germination. Like I really wish that I had done it on my begonia seeds, but I didn't, so darn it. But I wish I had done that. That would have been really, ended up being good. So it's 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. I actually ended up getting 18. So we'll just double up on some of these, just like that. And then we'll go across it once again with the vermiculite. Like I said, I think the vermiculite makes sense for things that take longer. And like I said, I wish I had done it for, my begonia seeds. And remember, this one is going to be going on a heat mat. We'll get everything set up at the end. Okay, so we're going to be starting 3 varieties of the Scabiosa. And I already actually have some Scabiosa out in the garden. You might have seen my video yesterday was me covering up part of it. And it is considered a hardy annual or a cool flower, meaning you can start it and plant it in the fall and it will overwinter. And then you'll get a jump start on the spring. Since I already had some in the garden, I didn't start any in the fall. And then as we got into the winter time, I started regretting that I hadn't started some different varieties. So we're going to go ahead and start those varieties today. So we'll go ahead and start by filling up each of our trays. You know, I was thinking I was going to do 12 of each. I don't think I am going to do 12 of each, actually. I think I'm going to do 8 of each. So I'm only going to fill 2 containers right now. I always feel like I get pretty good germination rates with my Scabiosa. And I also know that if I had 12 plants of each, that's way too many. Even if I gave 6 to my friend Kristen of each, that's still a lot of Scabiosa from the size of my garden. So I'm going to end up putting 8 of each one. So one of the varieties will be split between the 2 trays. I'll just make sure I label well. Okay, let's talk about the varieties. Okay, the first one is called Sweet Scabiosa Beaujolais Bonnets. And this one says some flowers are just incapable of disappointing us. Scabiosa are among this cherished group. They bloom later in the summer than some, but how we appreciate the puff of rounded blooms, the beaded flower heads that slowly swell as the summer days shorten. A superb cut flower with fresh spring green foliage. Scabiosa likes to have full sun. Actually, all the varieties we talked about so far like full sun. I will say that the Cleome can actually handle some part sun as well. And this particular variety is about 1.5 to 2 feet tall by 1 to 1.5 feet wide. It's about 16 weeks from seed to bloom, and its germination rate is about 5 to 15 days. Starting indoors in pots before last frost, keep at 50 to 65 degrees, so we will not be putting the Scabiosa on a heat mat. That's the first variety. The second variety is called Merlot Red, which I have grown before. It's about 90 to 100 days from seed to bloom, and it's about 26 to 36 inches tall. It's excellent as a cut flower. It says its germination rate is about 10 to 12 days. I still think that probably most Scabiosas are going to be in the same range. And then the last one is Salmon Rose, which I also recently grew and I loved it. Its days from seed to bloom is 90 to 100 days. It's also 24 to 36 inches tall, excellent as a cut flower. It says really good for backs of beds and borders as well. Okay, so the Scabiosa are planted about a 1/16 to an 1/8 of an inch depth, so we will end up going over the top of them with vermiculite. So this first one is Merlot Red, and I'm going to do 8 cells. I'm going to do 2 in each cell. And since these are larger seeds and I actually see them, I'm going to press down on them a little bit to make sure that they have really good contact with the soil. I did it on the other ones because a lot of times when I do that with the really smaller seeds, it gets stuck on my finger and comes right back up. And it's hard to see anyway, so. And then we'll just go ahead and push those down, make sure they have really good contact with the soil. The next one is Salmon Rose. We'll put 2 in each cell. And we'll go ahead and press those down. And then the last one is going to be the Sweet Scabiosa Beaujolais bonnets. These seeds look a lot different and a lot smaller. Very interesting. I haven't grown this variety before. So we'll go ahead and put a couple of these in each one. These look very different. So I accidentally put some in the wrong cells. Let me get my tweezers. And I can still see them, so I'll go ahead and pull those out. All right, and then we're going to cover each of these with a humidity dome. I'm going to make sure that the edges are cleared out just so that it sits better. Okay, so I want to put these seeds at the back here on this shelf. The issue is this shelf is too far away from the light source. If I were to do this and I'm not paying attention, which definitely happens, and these seeds sprouted, they would get really, really leggy very quick because they're so far away from the source. So what I'm going to do is I want to bring it up to an appropriate height. Now typically I would just put them down here, but I've got all these seed mats down here, so this shelf is a lot warmer than what I really need it to be. So that's what we're going to do with the Scabiosa and with the Eucalyptus. Now the Cleome can go on one of these over here because it needs to be warm. So I've just slid it under here, but let me get this set up for the other 3 containers. So I'm just taking a box, putting it up here, and I should be able to get all 3 on here just fine. But this gets the seeds much closer to the light source and will prevent them from being leggy. Okay, that feels really good to get those going and get those started. I did want to talk about a couple of things really quick. I've had a lot of people asking me how I decide what seeds or what flowers I'm going to grow. And it's a very simple yet very specific reasoning for me. And I suggest this reasoning for pretty much anyone. First thing you need to do is you need to choose cut flowers that grow in your particular zone. That's something very basic. There's no reason to attempt something that's not going to grow well in your area. It's kind of a waste of time. It can be a major headache. Maybe further along in your gardening career, maybe that's when you try something like that. But definitely stick to cut flowers that work well within your growing zone. Secondly, I grow things that I think are pretty. I know, it sounds ridiculously simple, but it's what I try to do. If it looks pretty and it feels like something that I like, that's what I choose to grow. I don't restrict myself to any particular set of a color scheme because I'm not growing to sell. I'm not trying to grow something that appeals to a wide range of people. I'm trying to grow something that appeals to myself and that I like to grow and that I like to bring inside. So I grow a wide range of colors and textures. And while I definitely am encouraged by and encouraged and inspired by lots of different types of blooms, I try not to give myself too many difficult blooms per season, anything that's going to need a lot of hand holding, which so far I really feel like the begonias are very high maintenance so far. So they're not going super great. I'm having them die by the day. I probably am not going to be growing begonias from seed in the future. I'm going to be growing them from tubers in the future. But, definitely don't give yourself too many high maintenance cut flower seeds to grow right off the bat. If you're a beginner, start with basic zinnias, sunflowers, bachelor's buttons, scabiosas are really great basic. For me, the eucalyptus and the Cleome are a little bit more advanced, so maybe a mid-range. That's first, like I said, this is the first time I'm starting them from seed and we'll be growing them from seed. However, I've grown them from plants in the past. But definitely give yourself a wide range of things that you think will work well for your color scheme, colors that you like. I do like to push myself sometimes and grow different flowers. Last year, I really pushed myself to grow more warm tones and I ended up loving them. Turns out I really love red and I want to grow more red and I intend to grow more red. So definitely grow things that work best for you and for your garden and that bring you a lot of joy and peace. You don't have to grow what everybody else is growing. All right, I do want to make sure that if you have grown eucalyptus, Cleome, or Scabiosa from seed, drop any comments below if there's particular varieties you prefer, one over the other. If you've had successes, if you've had failures, if you have any tips and tricks regarding those. I've noticed a lot of conversation going on in my comment section lately, which is wonderful. Y'all don't need to wait for me to give the answers. If you know the answer, go ahead and give the answer to someone if they're asking a question. You might have a better answer than I do, which is totally fine. And then if you see any suggestions, if somebody's asking for something, you have a suggestion that might make their lives a lot easier, please make sure that you share that information with them. I would love to have more of a community and conversation within my comments section. All right, you all, we're going to be starting a ton more seeds. I'm going to be starting seeds probably a couple of times each week, going up until probably March, I would think. So I'm really excited to really get this going. This is only the second round of seeds I'm starting, but I already have my list of seeds to start probably tomorrow. I'm super excited. As always, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Every time you like this particular video or leave a comment, it helps grow my channel. It's really you who's growing my channel at that point. And make sure you hit the subscribe button and that notification bell beside it. When you hit the notification bell, it lets you know when my latest videos are posted. It sends you a notification. And you can also check me out on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And I have been trying to do better about posting on YouTube community. As always, she's a mad gardener or decorator or anything else that she wants to be. Thanks, y'all.